So I'm on my way back from Berkeley, and I always have my best profound thoughts while I'm driving. And I know a lot of people right now have been having this really hard time with the state of the world, inflation, and I want to talk a little bit about why the state of things right now is actually a blessing for not only you, but for humanity in general. So here's what we know about behavior in people. When things are good, right? We don't really have to think or do too much. But in times where we have intense emotional conflict, these are times where people actually start taking action and doing things differently. So when you look at a cognitive behavioral chart, usually people make choices and decisions when intense emotional conflict is here. When we don't have intense emotional conflict in some aspect, well, why would we change everything? Everything's good. So there's no really real reason to act or to change. So what we're seeing right now is extreme intense emotional conflict, extreme intense financial conflict, world ties, all of these things. And so it's getting people extremely pegged. Why is this a good thing? Because in these times, we start making more valuable decisions. We start thinking about the cost of our decisions a little bit more. Most people, humanity in general, is just not really good at practicing cognition, which is asking themselves, is what I'm about to do right now in my best interest, not only now, but 5 years or 50 years later from now? Most people, this is the society we're living in, is fixed on instant gratification. We see it everywhere. It's in the TV, it's from the food we eat, it's everywhere. It's what makes me feel good right now. Like as I work with my clients, this is everything that I work on, is everything about where you are right now is just a byproduct of your continuous choices over your lifespan. So your current reality is just a byproduct of the habits that you've done every single day. It just adds up. So why are people so freaked out right now is because they haven't really been good stewards with their time, their money, their nutrition, their emotional health, their relationships, their vocation. They just haven't been good stewards because they really haven't had to be good at making conscious decisions and efforts, right? But when things get tough, then all of a sudden we start going, I really should think about where I'm spending my money, right? What I buy from the store, how I'm spending my time, where I work. This is why we saw a lot of people, especially with COVID, saying, I'm not sure if I want to sacrifice that anymore, all of that money, because I don't have the time with my kids. We start making decisions on our values. And this is where we've just been out of alignment with society, is that so many people have felt so overwhelmed. Have you heard that word lately? Overwhelmed? It's because people have been attaching their worth, their identity to success, which is their fame, the way they look, how they're perceived by other people, and tangible things like their purse or their house or their car. And guess what? When life goes to teach us lessons like this, it's such a blessing because they feel like everything is falling through their fingertips. They just can't hold onto something. The thing is they've been holding on to a false sense of reality that they've created that just isn't valuable. So how is this a blessing? This is awesome. You guys, it's all about being a good steward and choosing better habits. And nobody's going to do that for you except for you. Society isn't going to do that for you. The government isn't going to teach that for you. I swear, you have to learn to be a self-advocate for yourself. And this requires just having better thoughts and making better choices. And this is what I work people with constantly is like, are you learning to make better choices in your physical health, your mental health, your social health, your familial health, your financial health? Like, you're just the byproduct of your choices every single day. Now, here's the thing. Most people make decisions based on their emotions, and they don't realize that they have control over this. Most people have an emotion, right? And then they make a choice immediately based on that. They don't stop and say, is that thought serving me? Is it going to serve me now? And is it going to serve me 5 years from now? And is it going to serve me 50 years from now? Because that thought that we have ends up to becoming a choice. So if we're having a negative emotion, we usually have a negative thought. And if we don't curb that, guess what happens? We have a negative reaction. Now, the key is, what I teach people is when we have a negative emotion, stop. Process. Why are you feeling that way? What do you feel like you're missing? Is something really wrong? Or are we just feeling unease or dis-ease? And what is the root cause of that? Now, can we have a better thought around that and have a better outcome? So, for example, many people right now, over 74% of all of the United States is overweight and 45% are obese. Why is this? Because we're not good at making better choices in what we eat. And we have this mentality of that I just get to cheat day. So when I work with my clients with this, for example, is like, okay, let's talk about the depth and the value of that choice that you're about to make right now. Is it a bad choice? No. But what is the compound interest of that choice? If we have the piece of cake, you're going to have the instant gratification. You get some calories, you fuel your body. But what is the value in that choice? Is it a withdrawal in your bank account of life, or actually is it a deposit, and does it create long-term investment? So, if we have the cake, yeah, we feel good instantly, but later on we feel like crap, we feel bloated, we have acid reflux, and if we continue to make that choice day in and day out, guess what happens? We more likely have the chance of being overweight or obese, the chances of diabetes, the chance of getting on medication, and what's the cost of that choice long term? So, what if we say, can we reroute the way we're thinking about that word and not use the word cheat, but what kind of choice do you want to make? And what happens if we choose the salmon and the quinoa instead? We still have that instant gratification where we're fueling our body, but now we have dense nutrition that's fueling our body well and creating compound interest in our body and our mind and creating longevity, versus the potential of being in a hospital and possibly cutting off a limb and being in a wheelchair. So this is where I talk about this, is so much, it's not about the length of our life, but it's the depth and the width of our life. And if we learn right now, this is the most important time for us to actually say, I want to start making better choices and more valuable choices that help me not only right now, but long term, so that when we have ebbs and flows in our life, they don't affect us as much. Because now we have more abundance in our life, and we're not operating out of scarcity to where we don't feel like we have enough, that we are enough, that we're being enough, because our choices are more valuable. So you guys, inflation, everything that's going on right now is such a blessing, because if we have enough people to actually start learning how to be conscious beings, which is what God gave us the ability to do, is to make conscious decisions. We're the only beings here on this planet that have that. We can shift things. We can shift the tides. We can shift the culture. We can shift the economics. We can shift so much. But it's going to take a lot of consciousness. One by one, we can create a ripple effect and learn how to start making better decisions, not only for us and our families, but we